All right. Well, good day to you. Good morning for those of you that are watching this live with me. My name is Craig Blanchett, and I'm here to go over the boot camp week number 5. And this is where we talk about the client story call. It's sometimes the first time that people have actually met or seen or talked to their the mentor coach, their coach's support team, and and so we've kind of taken you through the evolution and the workflow. We started out way back when on client development, how to work your story, how to create a list, how to think about who you would help if you could. And then we moved into a way to make relationships. I talked to a coach yesterday, and she said, I'm not really into Facebook. And I said, oh, Facebook's changed. With Optavia, Optavia has created this relationship management system, and they just kind of disguised it as Facebook. And so for your business, this is going to be an incredible tool for you to relate to people and to connect with them and to get into their world and let them get into yours. And so don't think of this as what you used to think of Facebook as. This is actually a business and relationship development tool. She kind of laughed about that, but quite frankly, that's what Facebook is to us, because Facebook is all about friends, and friends are all about relationships. And so there's lots of ways to connect with people on Facebook. So anyway, the third week, we talked about the new health assessment, where we go through and we actually assess someone's current state of health and what they're looking to change, what's important to them at the moment. And then we talked about last week setting up three-way messaging. So we're setting up their support system, and we're setting up that mentorship communication channel. And we use the messaging portion of that amazing relationship tool I just spoke about called Facebook. And so Facebook Messenger. And for some of you, that was a bit of a steep learning curve. And one of the things that I found is that I know every one of you have heard about Facebook Messenger. I know you've heard about Facebook, but some of you have never actually done it. And so what's interesting to me is that if the system is designed to have this infrastructure in place, and you as the sponsor coach are the one that sets up that infrastructure, and you don't know how to, it will not be done. It's just that simple. And so there was so many ahas where people were like nervous, they're struggling, and then they clicked the right button or the sequence of buttons, and then I heard these ding, ding for the other two people that were part of that message, and their eyes lit up because they did it. So I want to do a little bit of a review with you guys and get some feedback for those of you that had a breakthrough with the messaging. If you've used it for the first time, any kind of feedback you have that, wow, I can see the power of how this works. So if you guys want to, you can raise your hand. Of course, you can start with first person can just unmute and share with us. Yeah, Chris, go ahead, unmute yourself.
So I use Facebook Messenger for probably 95% of the conversations I have with folks. And just in general, I can tell you that the feedback has been phenomenal. Not only is it easy to use because people are already on Facebook, but the biggest thing is it doesn't care what technology you're using. It's the same on everything. Has anyone here had issues with maybe someone has a Droid, someone else has an iPhone, and you're texting back and forth and suddenly you're not in a group anymore? And you're just individually texting people? Facebook doesn't do that. Facebook Messenger will allow you to just talk, which is fantastic. It's like walking over to a gathering at a party. And the best part about it is you actually have the backstory. If someone adds you into a group, you can see all the prior conversations. So that's even better. So it's fantastic. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, Facebook Messenger also, I don't use my phone very much as a business tool. I use it to to talk on and control different things. But I don't spend a ton of time on this little. Oh, look at that psychedelic. My phone is translucent. Anyway, sorry. The it's not very efficient because I'm more computer centric. So for me, it's less efficient. Some of you're just like bang bang. The phone is the key, right? But what I like about it is that Facebook Messenger is platform independent. It doesn't care if I like to do things on the computer. I'll get the messages on the computer, but I also get them on my phone. So it doesn't really matter where I'm at. I get it now. On With text messaging, how often do you get a text message on your computer? Unless you're on the Mac, you probably never have. You don't even know that that's possible if you're using a PC. And so with Facebook, it doesn't matter. It means, and then the other thing too is for people that are computer centric, if you send someone a video and it goes to their computer, when they click on that video, it can be a lot bigger screen usually than a phone. Almost every computer has a bigger screen than a phone, but you can't put a computer screen in your pocket, right? So those are some excellent reasons why. The other thing I think that is so powerful about using it with Facebook is now they're connected to more than just a text message. They're connected with a online profile that has history. You can actually go in and see what the mentor coach, what kind of stuff they're into, and so it just provides you with a lot more infrastructure and connections. Who else had some breakthroughs with using Facebook Messenger and maybe some of the connections you've had? Nobody. Okay. Well, good. I'm curious to see if, by a show of hands, your real hand this time, how many, like, this was the first time that you had really used Facebook Messenger or set up a three-way chat? Anybody have a first time you ever did that? Lori, great. Lynn Ann, yep. That was good. It was an awesome, oh, a few of you. Karen, really great job, you guys. Well, I was working with Lynn Ann last week in their breakout session, and you would have seen that on the video if you watched it. But if you go back and watch that, watch her eyes when she gets it, right? And then and I was in a couple other rooms too, and they're struggling, and then all of a sudden it's like the puzzle piece clicks into place, and you get it. Ah, that's the best part of being a mentor coach. The best part when someone gets it. So, Martin, I think you had your hand up. I thought I saw you there for a minute.
Am I muted? Oh, sorry.
You're not muted, but I can't see you.
Well, that's because I was, camera savvy. I was moving around.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sure you guys didn't want to see me moving around. No. You never know what's below the camera.
Yeah. As health coaches, sometimes we're a party on the bottom and business on top. Go ahead, Martin.
That's right. But I am actually business all the way around.
Yeah, thank you.
Just wanted to let you know that. So, no, I was going to see if Lynn Ann wanted to share a little bit about her experience yesterday with when we were mentoring her about Facebook Messenger.
And that's great. Yeah, we did have some big breakthroughs. I'll unmute Lynn Ann. Go ahead.
Oh boy, gee, thanks, Martin. You're such a doll. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, kind of like how Craig was just mentioning about sharing Facebook in a different perspective with, I don't think it was me, some other gal. So I shared my screen and they just got on with me. When you make a post, is that what you're talking about, Martin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And these are the people that, I had no idea. And I don't want to admit out loud, but I'm gonna, because that's how we are in Optavia, right? We're just transparent. I was just so intimidated by that. They're like, well, look below. These are the people that viewed it, or they liked it, or they made a comment. So, okay, if you put your cursor over their name and you click on that, and then you can figure out who they are if you don't already know. And then you can make a comment to them, say something to them. And then here I am, I'm trying to write a book because that's what I do. Craig's like, no, back up, erase that, and that. Just say one thing, and you need to ask questions. So you're like, ping, ping, ping pong back and forth. I was like, what? This isn't that hard. And it's so exciting. And then, so like, yeah, Chris. So, in the following couple of hours, I was like, oh my gosh, I connected with people I haven't seen in years, and we had discussions and getting to know them, and, a little pieces of what their hopes are, what their fears are, and what their needs are. And that's what this is all about. Is anybody else motivated? I am.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Lynette, you're going crazy. It's so fun. Yeah, it was so amazing to watch. She initially, someone had commented or said something about a post she posted. And so it was like, well, who is that person? She says, well, I don't know. I said, well, let's go find out. And it turns out, as she figured out who she was, she had some questions to ask. And she goes, well, it was really interesting. She goes, she's at work right now. She's not going to reply. I go, well, let's just see. And she types it and then posts it. And then all of a sudden you see the bubble pop up and I go, look, she's replying right now. And it was just like this discovery after discovery, and it turns out in this particular situation, how ironic. She is about to be dismissed from the military because she missed her physical test, right? And the lady chose to do a different program, oddly enough, called It Works. And oddly enough, it didn't work because she's being dismissed from her career, right? Devastating. So now this person still has a health need, clearly, and might have a vocational need shortly, right? And so she's like, well, let's talk about this. I want to hear all about it. They have a meeting set up today. And, and it's just, anyway, it's just the reality is that even though they haven't connected the dots yet to what Optavia can offer, both in the health and in the vocational health, there's a need that is known. And now they're going to talk through it and see what it works out. But it was so much fun watching that whole thing transpire and learning to be inquisitive in small chunks. So great stuff. All right, guys. So today there is going to be, I'm going to paste the document that we're going to be going through today. And so if you want to pull that up, one thing with Zoom, by the way, for those of you that joined a little bit late, Zoom does have a new update. So at some point you may want to update your Zoom, not now, but then the secondary is in order to view that link, you probably want to make Zoom not full screen. And you can do that by going up to the right corner and clicking on exit full screen if you're currently in full screen. And then you can move Zoom off to one side, and then you can have the document up on the left. And so today what we're going to be talking about is here's where we are in our timeline of boot camp. We now have a new client. They started program roughly 7 to 10 days ago. Was day one if they're on the 5-in-1, and now they're about a week, 7 to 10 days into it. So there's a couple things that are happening. They're probably in fat burn. 99% of the time they're going to be in fat burn, which means they're going to be feeling fantastic, right? We call this the first major teachable moment. They're really excited, and you can insert a couple of powerful lessons into their brain when the soil is very rich and fertile. And so we're going to go through and see how integrated they are. It's a layering process, because now that they're losing weight, they may be more receptive to what someone's saying, oh my goodness, you look great, what are you doing? What that really is communicating. And then it also is edifying their goals, reinforcing the reasons why they started this, which is gaining something, not just losing something. And then it's also going to be edifying their coach, and then checking their systems. Do they know about the Habits of Health system? Do they know about, are they connected to our community? All these other surrounding things that other programs fail to offer. And oftentimes people are set up with short-term results. And I don't know about you, but I've never, ever talked with somebody and said, would you like these awesome results to be temporary? Nobody's ever said, yeah, I'd like to lose 30 or 40 pounds and then gain it back over the next 6 months. Actually, and I'd like to actually gain more than that. I'd like to gain 60 back. I lose 40, gain 60. Nobody's ever said that, but it happens all the time, doesn't it? So that's why our program is about lifelong transformation, not temporary weight loss. All right. So as we get started here, I want to, we're going to need someone to join us as a volunteer. So we're going to have mentor coach role. We're going to have the client role, and then we're going to have the sponsor coach role. And so we're going to walk through this. And so for those of you that have done this a few times, I'd like to have some volunteers, folk that have done this and are kind of familiar with this. Yeah, Chris, so you can be one of our volunteers today.
Vonne will be one too. And then it
Vonne?
looks like Rick said he would volunteer too.
Vonne, Rick, and Chris.
No, Rick doesn't want to.
Voluntold? Voluntold?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah,
you know what? Leanne might want to. Leanne's here. I don't
That's
know.
right.
Maybe, right?
Yeah, no, it'd be fine. I wanted to be one of them, and so now we got 4 people. What did you do?
Oh,
Oh
man.
my goodness.
Well, I wanted to,
Hey.
because Leanne's a new
You guys go
executive.
ahead.
Okay, Leanne is?
But you guys go ahead.
Yeah, all
I'm
right.
making breakfast for my husband.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Right.
go ahead. Yeah.
We'll go Chris Vonne, and then I can jump in there and just be the client. But what we'll do is, Vonne, you're going to be the, why don't you be the sponsor coach? And so I'm going to pull up my screen here so we can see the document, and you'll be able to see that this is laid out for you. And it's really simple to understand what we're doing here and get the words and the flow of how the whole thing works. And so if you are able to either print this, or what I do is I save it as a bookmark. And if you notice here, like if I were to open up a new browser tab here, and then right here I have all these little tabs that I use often. New client integration. I click that and there it is. Right, so you can save that as a bookmark or a bookmarks bar or a favorite, but you're able to do that quite easily, and then that you're able to bring this up when you need it. And so as we get started here, you should be able to get through this this particular conversation in about 15 minutes. Sometimes depends on how verbose they are. It might take 20 minutes, but you're going to be fairly succinct. But you also want to be relational, because the relationship, the feeling they get at the end of the call is not going to be what you said; it's how you said it and that you related to them. That's the most important piece of what we do here is we're relational. And so, what's going to happen prior to this? Let me just give you a little bit of setup, and then we'll get started with it. The setup is we are in 3-way Facebook Messenger threads with these 3 people, right? The sponsor coach set it up. That was probably 10 to 15 days ago when they placed their first order, or when you enrolled them in our program. The sponsor coach set up that 3-way messenger thing. And now we've been talking a little bit, when's your first day, getting ready to get started, how you feeling? They might be texting you their weight in there. And then when it comes time they're about a week into it, the sponsor coach would say, you're about a week into this, it's time to reconnect with so-and-so or meet them face-to-face for the first time. And so you'll put the Zoom link in there, you'll set the date. The neat thing about Facebook Messenger is if you put a time in there, it'll actually, you can say start plan and it'll remind everybody. And then when you're in that 3-way messenger thread, there'll be a little telephone, there's a little video camera right in the thread, right? And so you can click on that at the top and it's going to call all 3 people. Now, if you don't want to do that and you want to go over to Zoom, a lot of you, everybody here at least, is familiar with Zoom. So you can do a Zoom meeting as well. I find that if everybody's on Facebook Messenger anyway, just doing it in Facebook makes it really simple. And think about it, that new client, you don't know what kind of savviness they have. They may never have had Zoom. So, but they do have Facebook Messenger in most cases. Now, for those of people that aren't on Facebook at all, and you've been doing all this in a three-way text, well, you probably do want to use Zoom at this point. So, but now hear me out. You can do this on the old telephone, just a three-way phone call. So don't let it paralyze you. I don't know how to do a three-way messenger. They're not computer savvy, or they're away on a vacation and they don't have their computer or whatever. Just pick up the phone and call them, right? You can do this all over the telephone. Okay, I want to make sure that doesn't get in your way. All right. So now here we are, and we've got our the document up in front of us. And so we're going to start with the sponsoring coach. And so I can be the client, or I will be the client, and then Chris can be the mentor coach. And then actually, you know what? Because the sponsor coach doesn't do very much, I want actually just to be between Chris and is it Vonne? Yeah, Chris and Vonne. And so Vonne, you'll be the client, and Chris will be the mentor coach. All right, so you're going to want to both unmute yourselves, and we'll go ahead and walk through this. And so I'll be the sponsor coach. So I'll go in and do the introductions. And you guys all ready? Great. Now let's see here. All right, so I'll get started here. All right, so introduction by sponsor coach, that's me, to mentor coach and client. So, hey, Vonne, this is, hi, good to see you, Vonne, because we'll be on video, of course. And I wanted to connect you and introduce you to one of the coaches on my support team. His name is Chris, and you've met each other in the Facebook chat, but now we get to see each other face to face. Chris has helped me with my journey and with getting my health in order and all the changes I've made. And so I wanted the two of you to connect.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, nice to meet you, Vonne, officially in person. So
Yeah.
why don't you refresh my memory on your top reason why you wanted to regain your health?
Well, I'm just kind of stuck where I'm at. I'm really overweight. I want to get back to where I was in my 30s, which was years ago, and I'm just really tired of being tired and hurting, and I want to lose weight so I can feel better about myself.
Okay, awesome. So what are you noticing this week that's different since you started?
Oh, it's been pretty amazing. Of course, the first 3 days I was really, I don't know, I had a headache. It was hard, but then I started feeling a lot better. So I'm feeling a little more energy, and it's really not as hard as I thought it would be.
Okay, awesome. That's exciting to hear. So I'm excited to be a part of your transformation team. So can I go over a couple tips for success?
Of course.
Okay, awesome. So I've been coaching for a little while now, and I've noticed that the people who are the most successful in not only losing the weight, but really getting all the way to their goals, do a couple of things. I suggest taking a few notes. Do you have a pen and paper?
Yes, I do.
Okay, excellent. So if you want to jot down some notes, and we'll go ahead and review this at the end, okay?
Okay.
Okay, awesome. So very first thing is stay connected with your coach. Craig is an awesome health coach. He's helped tons of people regain their health, and they're going to be your most valuable resource for accountability and for encouragement and to celebrate with you along the way. Mm-hmm. Craig will also defend your why if you get complacent. Do you know what that means?
You mean if I kind of stray and go off the program? I guess my why is why I want to do it. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. That's exactly it. And if you get stuck along the way, your coach is there to really remind you why you began in the first place. And I mean, for instance, let's say you're having a difficult week and some additional stress, and you really need that candy bar. Okay, well, that's the best time to call your coach, because we don't know unless you call us that you're struggling. So you got to tell us, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So the second thing is make time to explore the Habits of Health system. Did you order those books as your kit?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're still in the box.
That's okay. First weekend, that can be a little overwhelming, but I recommend you open those up and you start looking through those. You know, and this doesn't just include those books. I mean, we have support calls once a week. We have our online support community. Are you added into our Facebook group?
Yes, I think so.
Awesome, awesome. So, I mean, the simple reality is if we fail to change our minds and our lifestyle, our results will be temporary. And we don't want temporary results. We don't want to lose 40 and gain 60, do we?
I've done that before.
Exactly. So take time to each week to read or listen. I mean, it takes about 15 minutes to get through a chapter. So I definitely recommend you read the intro this week if you can.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. So the third thing is build a healthy community around yourself. You know, this one takes some time to do. But we have a Facebook group that you can plug into, and right now, while you're building your own healthy community. So you'll get tips, inspiration, recipes, and really share your successes with our group. So, and you're already a part of that group, so that's fantastic. Have you been posting in there yet?
No, I got on there and saw a few of the things, and no, I really haven't.
Okay. Well, I encourage you to post in there, because what you'll find is others will get encouragement from what you're posting, much as you're getting encouragement from what they're posting. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome. And then the final thing is really live your journey out loud. The more you share with your friends and family about all the positive changes you're making and why you're making them, the more likely they are to support you when you're around them. You know, this is great accountability as well, because then you don't just have your accountability coach. You've got all of your friends and family working with you. So
Okay.
we've learned that people will support you in your goals when you're doing things like eating out, on a party or other social event, even if they aren't healthy themselves. Who do you think will be your most supportive person for this?
Probably my husband. He's
Okay.
pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Good. Awesome. Frank is a very positive person. That would be wonderful. So soon people are going to start noticing that you're changing if they haven't already. You know, they're going to notice that you have more energy that you mentioned, that you're melting away, and that overall you seem happier. And when this happens, remember, you have two options. So you can connect them to Craig, and Craig would love to assist them, would love to support them. But what we find is most people prefer to work with someone that they know and that they trust already, and that's you. So, we can assist them in getting started. Craig and I can get them started just like we did with you. But in reality, you'll simply showing them what you're doing. So have you ever thought about exploring health coaching?
No, I don't feel maybe when I've lost some weight, but right now I just feel kind of grumpy, and I don't really feel like I'd have the confidence to tell somebody how to do this.
Okay. Well, that confidence will come over time. That's the really nice part about this program. So who do you think, who's been noticing so far? Who's been talking to you about your journey so far?
Well, the people at work, notice that I'm not, having ice cream every afternoon, but it's just kind of just the people around me at work, and of course my husband's right there. He's like, eat something because, you're so grumpy. But that was actually the first 3 days. So I'm better now.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, as people start asking you, you definitely want to try and plug them into Craig so that he can go ahead and have a conversation with them and understand what their goals are. All right?
Okay.
Awesome. So, and I mean, lastly, I want you to know that your coach and I, Craig and I are here to celebrate with you and all the changes that you're making. Craig and I are rooting for you and excited to see the rest of your health continue to improve. So what questions do you have for me?
So do is this, am I going to stay on this? I mean, when do I get to have some bread?
So that's a great question. So for every person, it varies. You know, some people are on program for a couple of months, some people are on for a month, some are on for over a year. It just depends on your goals. As you get closer to your happy place, as you get closer to your goal, then we can start talking about transitioning off and going back into your new normal. And I call it new normal because you'll be using those healthy habits that you learned along the way to really focus long term.
Okay. All right.
All right. Awesome. Now for a fun little short quiz. So can you remember what the 4 tips are?
Yeah, I wrote them down. Okay. The first one is to stay connected with my coach, with Craig. And the second one is to read my book. And the third one is to stay like on Facebook, the Healthy Community, and I think. And the fourth one is to live my journey out loud and tell other people what I'm doing. Right?
Awesome. That's awesome. Great job. Very cool. All right. Well, do you have any other questions for me?
No, but thank you. That's I'll keep these in mind.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing from you again after you've hit your first month. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. No problem. Nice talking to you, Bonnie.
Nice talk to you.
Good job, you guys. Way to go. Nice work. Now, there was a couple of little pieces there. How did you think that went, Chris?
I stumbled a little bit because I was trying to read from the script, one of the last parts there. But it's nice knowing that those questions come up and the relational type of questions where you don't have to necessarily read from the script and you just speak from the heart and talk to them like they're a person. Just because we're reading from a script doesn't mean it's going to be the exact same every single time.
Yeah.
But, you know, you gotta make that your own.
Yep, perfect. How about you, Vonne? How did you feel that went?
It was interesting being on the other end because, you know, I was, I've done this quite a few times, but I've never been the client. So I thought it was pretty cool because, you know, I was actually kind of listening to it like as if I was the client. And I think they're really good tips and helps me know that other people are interested in helping me along the way, and that I have people helping me with this. So.
Yep. Now, one of the thank you guys. By the way, one of the things that we added in here is the whole idea of when you say coaching, when you think of like, I'm a coach, I'm a NBA professional basketball coach with years of experience, right? So the word coaching can potentially be a little bit, I have to know everything I know. You go to coaching school for years. And so in the script, we're talking about you can help other people just like I did when I got started. And you're just showing them what you're doing. And when you emphasize the fact that, I heard Kim Fisk say this one time, she started out as a coach, and she talked to a couple of her girlfriends, and she said, I don't really even know all that I'm doing, but stuff's working and I'm melting away. And so I'm helping some other people. And I just think this would be fun to do this with you. I'll just show you what I'm doing, and then you can do that with some people, and we can help a bunch of people get healthy. And they said yes. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just showing them what I'm doing. And now that, to me, that seems very different than knowing everything there is to know about coaching. And so you'll know when someone says, well, I need to wait till I get all the way to my goal, that's a clue that they think they need to know everything. And I know that all of you don't need to know everything. None of us do. If someone's in their first week, they know how they got started. They know how day 1 went. They know how day 2 went. They know how up to date they're into fat burn. They know quite a bit, actually. They know what a lean and green is. They know how much water they should drink. They know what fat burn feels like. They know there's a community. They know there's this habits of health thing. They know how much it costs. They know the value of what they got, or they're beginning to know the value. So they, oddly enough, know a whole lot more than they think they know. And so that's why you could you could show them at least what you're doing. The question is, do you want to partner with other people and build your support community? And so we put that in the script here to at least talk about helping other people. We're not trying to get anyone to be a coach that doesn't want to. But guess what? There's a whole lot of people that want to that have never been asked. There's way more than you think. How many people do you know that love to help other people? Right? If someone has a baby and you're first to sign up to take them meals, right? Somebody's moving, or somebody's broken down on the side of the road, or somebody's in the hospital, and you go visit them. You go help people all the time. At church, you might be a greeter, or you might, who knows what it might be, but you're the person that loves to serve. So you love to help people. But quite frankly, very few people have any resources to actually help people in this area. Right? And so now all of a sudden you're doing it. And you like to help other people and help them connect the dots, that you can take what you're learning. And I know there's people just like you. Probably most of your friends are like you, where you were 3 weeks ago. Right? Hopeless, curious, trying to figure out, what am I going to do? I just get better. That's the reality, right? And now you're making these great results, great changes, and you've got support. And to connect the dots and say, hey, do this with me. This is working. Let's do this together. I care about you. That's what coaching is. And so even if you don't use the word coaching, you can talk about, would you like to help other people? Show them what you're doing, and I'll help you. I don't know. I just think that a whole lot of people are like, I could do that? You mean, I had a lady say, don't you need a counseling degree for this? And I said, well, I hope not, because I don't have one. Right? And she's like, oh, that would be fun to help some people. And so when you're communicating those kinds of things, when someone says something like Monet says, I need to know everything, he says, what makes you think that? That's a great question. Actually, maybe you just all want to write down. What do you mean by that? Or what makes you think that? Anytime someone makes a statement, Lynn just, we talked about that yesterday. What someone made a statement. And the first question is, what do you mean by that? Just ask them what they mean. Help them to uncover what they're talking about. And then, so let's just say that someone said, man, I'd love to find out what it would look like to help somebody. Well, then you have in the script now, the video, you set up the appointment right there. Well, let's talk again. How about we talk again in about 2 or 3 days? We'll have, your coach send you the video that gives you a little overview. And then we'll get together and we'll talk about what stood out to you and what part you liked the most. Those are really critical questions. Not what did you think, but what did you like the most? What stood out to you? What part connected with your life? What stood out the most? What connected with you? What was your favorite part? Those are different ways of asking that same question, because you're assuming there's going to be something on there that's, what we're talking about is fantastic. What we do at Optavia is unbelievable. It's real, first of all, right? It works. It actually does work, rather than naming it works and it doesn't work. So we have an opportunity to actually talk about that. Now, you're not trying to manipulate people into doing something they don't want to do. We're trying to connect the dots that this is actually helping people do what they do want to do. They just don't know how. We all want to help people. And what a better way to help somebody than help them to smile at them reflection in the mirror. Think about that. You look in the mirror and you go, wow, this is really working. Oh my goodness, these pants are too big. right? How often does that happen when you pull on those favorite pair of pants that you're trying to get into and whoops, they don't fit anymore because they're too big? You went down 4 sizes instead of 2. Yeah. So looking for some comments from you guys, maybe some things that are very obvious ooh, I see something I didn't see before. Something stood out to me, or I liked this. Go ahead and raise your Zoom hand. And by the way, Zoom now keeps track of who raises their hand in order of raising them. So if you're ever doing any team Zooms and you want to sort of make like a game out of it, and the first person that raises their hand is kind of like a buzzer, you can do some stuff like that because they'll go to the top of the list. So that's kind of fun. I may have just talked about crazy talk right there. So disregard everything I said if that confuses you. Michelle, I'll unmute you. You're up first.
Living out loud is the hardest thing for me.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'm a teacher, and so I'm surrounded by people all day, and I cherish my private life. But I do have people coming to me. I just need to be more active about telling my story, living out loud. I'm getting there.
Well, I would ask you a couple questions. Are you actually excited about the changes that are happening? Think of your life before Optavia. Just go there for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I saw your face change. You're like, yee. And now think about where you're going or where you are. Is it better?
Definitely better. I made this not just for weight loss, but health.
By the way, I didn't ask you about weight loss. I said life before Optavia.
Oh, life before?
You're defining that in your head. Now you went straight to the weight loss, but then you went out of the weight loss and said it's more than the weight loss, which I'm glad you did.
Well, I have a health issue.
Okay.
That.
Is it called being human?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I have it too.
But it was getting worse. And even though I struggle, I was working out 3 times a day, thinking I was eating healthy. Ha ha ha. And it was getting worse to the point where I was looking at dialysis. And so I said, I've got to make a change. And people have said, but now I've gone to the other extreme because I've lost so much weight. They all think I'm sick.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Because what calibration are they using to think that? Their eyes.
Right.
And guess what? Most people are overweight, so that's the norm.
Okay.
So everybody's eyes have been calibrated to unhealthy is the norm, so it must be healthy.
Because that's my struggle right now is I've had people come up to me last night, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm great. This is the healthiest I've been in 20 plus years. And they're like, oh, okay. But I don't know.
Think of how crazy our world is and how I'm going to get real with you guys for just a second. Thank you for sharing your story. In our society, optimal health looks like cancer. How's that grab you? Let that sit for just a second. People get healthy and lose weight in such a profound way that it's disguised as cancer. People say, are you sick? Are you kidding me? No, I am crazy healthy right now. And I'm getting healthier.
I was accused of having AIDS.
AIDS. Interesting. Yeah. And if someone would say that, someone is, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that you thought that. I'm actually working on my health and my insides. My whole body is becoming so nourished and healthy. It is unbelievable. You wouldn't believe the energy. As a matter of fact, I just blah, 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 blah. I just ran to the top of a skyscraper, whatever it is that you did. But talk about, no, I'm doing this. Man, I'm sleeping so good. Man, this is so good. What are you doing? How are you doing with your health? You want to do this with me? My coach told me that the more people that I partner up with, the better my long-term success will be. How are you doing with your health? You want to do this with me? Oh my goodness, let's go for a walk right now and talk about this. And what if you just did that? Like crazy. Do you think they're like saying, I've got a support system that's awesome and my health plan is on lockdown and I'm killing it? I doubt they will say that. And so you're like, man, I'm figuring this out and it's working. You want to do this with me? Let's go talk about it. I'm telling you what, if you get that little piece there, that little soft skill that I just kind of talked about, you'll light the world on fire. People around you will just join you. Who doesn't want to partner with success?
One thing, Craig, is that, you know, if we look back, and you and I both can remember the 80s, but in the 80s, you didn't see overweight people. Very seldom. And so, you know, times have changed. They always kind of think now, are you sick? Because, you know, there's so many people, 70% of people are either overweight or obese. Obviously, they're going to think that we're sick, right? So if you kind of look at just in the time and how it's changed, a lot of people haven't changed. As in, you know, they're stuck in that, well, you need to be bigger, and that means you're healthy. Or how many of you heard, well, I could never lose that because I'm big boned? And, you know, between a small bone and a large bone person, there's only like 4 pounds. So it's not so much of that. It's just that in their mind, they think that that's something that's not attainable. So, you know, I
had thank you, Troy. I had someone say, this was a nurse, and she said, well, I don't want to get really skinny because I can survive cancer better if I'm overweight. And I said, but being overweight gives you like a 30 to 70% greater chance of getting cancer. So do you want to just skip it altogether, or do you want to just be able to survive it if you get it? I don't know about you, but I want to do whatever I can never to get it.
We got 2 people have raised hands. Who's
good? Lynn, you're up. I unmuted you.
Great, thank you. You know, I'm going to really try to be succinct here, but I was on a Hispanic channel and they were advertising a program that they were doing. I forget what Spanish channel it was, and it was all in Spanish, so it's some Hispanic country. And it showed clips of this young girl who was probably 13 and was overweight. And in the program, she was saying, well, I'm strong though. You know, I'm strong, I'm healthy. And what they were terming that in Spanish, I don't know if anyone has heard it in English in this country, but they call it megorexia, where people are starting to get in their mind, and it's infiltrating our society, that being obese, really in the obese category, is like, it means you're a strong person, kind of like what Troy was saying about being big boned. Or, you know, I'm really healthy because I'm big. And, you know, we as an organization, we are going to have to fight against this mentality in our nation. And I don't know if anyone has seen Tess Holliday, that is an obese star. She's a writer and model, and she's clearly well over 100 pounds. I mean, you know what? Because you need to love yourself, right? You need to love other people. You need to respect other people. It's way beyond tolerance. You need to love people and love yourself. But to take that self-love and encompass an extremely unhealthy status and try to make it okay when you're making yourself prone to diabetes and heart attack and stroke, it's not okay. Mm-hmm. That's all I want to say.
Right. Awesome. Debbie, you're up next. I unmuted you.
Excuse me, I had an example, and that's exactly what I was going to say was with Leanne. I was at a Janet Jackson concert last night, and she has mostly women dancers, and she has this one woman that's probably about 60 pounds overweight, and she's rocking it. I mean, she's dancing great, and, you know, and she's keeping up and everything like that. And when she was introducing them at the end of the show, she got the loudest cheer. when she was introducing the dancers. And that's exactly what Lynn Ann was saying, is we as a society are starting to accept people being larger. And so they are now going to, well, I am who I am, and, that's great. And we understand that, but I'd like to talk to her when she's, 45 years old and she's still carrying that weight. And I was thinking about how much she has to eat to keep that weight on the way she's dancing. She should just be, I know you can't, run faster than your fork, but all the other dancers are fit, and how she must be feeling to have to eat that food to keep that weight on, to keep her job, because it's kind of like she was kind of hired to be an example of a heavy person can be fit, or at least be able to do moves. So I just thought it was really interesting. Yeah, kudos to her because she's rocking it and stuff, but we're starting to accept people as being unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. This, one of the things is accepting the person doesn't gain. Imagine this: if something weighed less, it has greater value in the world. And if something weighs more, it has less value. That would mean that something like, I don't know, a feather, which is weighs very little, has more value than gold, which is very heavy. Well, obviously that's not true at all. So it doesn't increase the worth or the value of the person based upon the size they are, not of the person, but it will increase the quality of life, right? The quality of their experience going through life. Think about just something like fitting through a crowd of people. If you're smaller, you fit through the crowd different than if you're bigger. That's something, a very simple, small little thing. Sometimes you got to get through small sections, right? Or what about being able to run through an airport with bags? Someone that's thinner gets there and has less sweat, right? And is less out of breath and is in different kinds of shape. So we're talking about quality of life, and we're not talking about the value of the human, but we're talking about the quality of life. And by the way, we only help people who want to make changes. If that person is perfectly happy being the overweight dancer, great. But there's a lot of people that don't want to be the overweight dancer. And so we get to awaken that. We get to help them discover, and we give them hope that it's possible. And then we partner with them with a lifestyle, so it's lifelong transformation and not temporary weight loss. So as we're going through this, I love that topic, and we kind of get there. The reality of what we're doing here is, in this interview, as you're talking with the people, you're exposing them to the infrastructure that will be the bedrock to keep them on track, right? Their coach. There's so many programs out there where people want to, they want to succeed in the long run, but they want to do it in a vacuum. They want to do it by themselves. And that's not where success lives. Success does not live in a by myself mentality, because when there's days when things get rough and I'm in a community of other people that are health minded, it bleeds off into me. It rubs off into my world. So I want to surround myself with as many other healthy people as I can for my bad days. Right? Here's another thing. When you become a client, an Optavia client, you get exposed to a certain level of community, right? How many of your clients know your other clients? Well, if they're not communicating on Facebook, they don't. They're not on Zooms probably together like we are right now. So they have a certain amount of exposure to community, but it's limited. Well, imagine if you plug into a vocational healthy community by saying, I want to help others. Now you are learning to be a coach, getting certified, whatever. Now you're immediately plugged into a whole different level of community. And everybody that's in this coaching community wants to have health that's improving. You're working on it too. You're working on helping others do it too. So as a coach, you get a level of support that's impossible to get as only merely being a client. Because you don't stop being a client when you become a coach. You add to it. So you want to have a robust community that's lasting. Connect your vocation to your health, and then connect with a bunch of people that have done the same thing. That's the deep value that I get from coaching, is that I get to work with healthy people, and then I also get to play with healthy people, right? Somebody had their hand go up. Did it go down? All right, well, we're getting right up toward the end. We just have a couple of minutes left here. So I hope you just see the rhythm of what we're doing. And all of this is building on the foundations, building those structures, getting the systems in place. Maybe they never have connected on Facebook, but they at least have you as their mentor coach or their coach. You have your coach, your support coach, right? So they at least have now 3, them, you, and your mentor coach. At least they have that if you follow this system. Probably more over time, because as people start noticing, they're going to be connected, and all of a sudden the people in their lives over time will start becoming healthier, right? Pretty soon, what if their whole family over the next couple years, you have a potluck and everybody there knows about Lena Greens, knows about, jicama, caramel jicama baked yumminess, right? And they bring those kinds of things. You think that's going to support everybody? You bet it will. I know personally how that affects the family. Clark, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that, the safety factor of I'm going to do it by myself and staying in that vacuum. That's where the connecting part that we are talking about all the time is so important, because people in that vacuum feel safe and they destroy themselves when they're in there. Last year, I was fortunate enough to give a health seminar at church. And a guy ran up to me and he said, "Oh man, this is great information, behavioral change and all of that. Well, hey, let's talk about it." "Oh, no, I'm going to do it myself." Okay. He lost 15 pounds in a year and 3 months later, he's on the table getting 5 bypasses. He did it himself. The danger in that. Yeah. Tragedy. He's going to be okay, but,
Well, he'll be okay, but he'll be different.
Yeah. And we need to learn to break that glass jar where that vacuum is.
Well, and I don't know about you, Clark, but the thing that breaks it the most is when I actually reach over and say, "Hey, let's do this. I need some support.
Yeah.
Maybe you can help me stay on track." They're like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, I need as many people as I can. How about you? Do you do better with when you get encouragement?" "Yeah." "Hey, let's go for a walk together and talk about this." Right?
Yeah.
"Hey, let's get together for coffee and let's talk about what is it that you want?" And now you're actually going into the health assessment, but you're just actually having a nice conversation. What would it look like if you were healthier than when was a time when you were, tell me more about that. That's a really, really profound question. When someone says something, tell me more about that. I did that with Linan when she first started the program, and she said, "What? This guy actually is caring about what he heard what I just said and wants to know more about that?" Well, I'm not trying to just get her. I'm not trying to just go, "Why don't you just pull out your credit card and let's get going?" I wanted to know about what was going on in her life because I actually wanted to have a relationship. I wanted to relate to her because in that moment, she was also becoming part of my support community. I don't know if you realize that, but all of your clients are part of your support community. Do you share with them how you're doing? Do you kind of get down on their level and say, "Yeah, man, I just learned this thing and wow, this changed my life. This made me think about this totally different." Or man, this weekend, man, I was really fighting for my health. I had all these things that were coming up, but I decided not to just struggle with the past. I'm fighting for my future. Do you share with them, "Hey, do you want to go on a walk with me? I need a walking partner." Have you done that? Have you forgot that you're a client too? All right, you guys, great stuff. We're going to finish up here with the training portion. And of course, we're going to get right into our practice session. We're going to practice this with all of you. So stay tuned for that.